And our top story this hour, Cabinet will try to finalize a socioeconomic plan post the COVID-19 pandemic at its meeting today. The meeting is expected to deal with the negative impact on the economy by the coronavirus pandemic due to the closure of most businesses over the last 25 days. Today's meeting follows one held last Wednesday, where it was decided that government clusters would produce a consolidated plan. The future of the South African Airways is also expected to be discussed. All right, and for more now on the story, let us now speak to our SABC News politics editor, Mzwandile Mbeje, who joins us now live via Skype. Mzwandile, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on the SABC News channel. Let us just recap really what transpired last week and perhaps some of the important issues that came out.
Well, thank you very much, Palisa. Indeed, it's quite an interesting situation for the country. We know that last week the Cabinet and of course the National Command Council met to discuss really a range of issues that have happened since the lockdown. We know that the issues around economy and of course the issues around the social relief have been topping the agenda. So what happened last week is that they basically identified some of those issues as very key in addressing to make sure that they are able really to come up with responses that will be able to attend to issues of the people that are of great concern. So the mandate that was given that Command Council was that they needed to go back to do more work, then to come back and then work thoroughly so that when they come and report to the nation, they are clear as to what exactly is going to be happening. So it's centered around the issues of social relief and of course the big one, the economic stimulus for the country. So when the president announced the lockdown, one of the issues that he had spoken about was the issue of economic stimulus. But the question has been to many other people is, what is that recovery plan? So what are the details? So those are some of the things really we think they are being discussed as well today as the special cabinet meeting is meeting, Palisa.
Yes, indeed. So having touched on some of the issues, Mzwai, that we are expecting the cabinet to touch on, there have been a number of engagements with the different stakeholders. Let's just speak to those engagements and perhaps how the discussions would probably form part of the plan that is expected to be tabled today.
Well, the plan, or rather the discussions that are happening are basically informed by a range of consultations that we have seen the president hold with various people. He was at NEDLEC last week, and then he discussed with many social partners. And of course, there were other stakeholders that he's been engaging basically to try and find a solution to this. The NGOs, they've been quite vocal on this issue to say perhaps during this time there needs to be an increase in the pension or in the social grants that are being given to people. So as they meet today, so they'll be taking those into account. Remember, the issue of food has really been a big problem. In fact, it's not even an issue limited to this country. We have seen all over the world. So particularly South Africa is already, the economy was already in a very bad situation. So the issue of the COVID-19 has simply worsened the situation. So the government then has a responsibility, Palisa, to be able then to try and come up with measures that will somehow assist the ordinary people on the street. So that is exactly what is being discussed today. So in his letter that the president writes every Monday, he basically made it clear that what they will be doing today will be to finalize some of those measures that will help mitigate the impact, particularly against the poor.
So Cabinet had also directed the Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan to prepare an updated report on the national carrier, that's the South African Airways, Mzwai, for discussion. What is likely to transpire, particularly on the South African Airways?
Well, the issue of South African Airways is quite an interesting issue. You know that the business practitioners applied for 10 billion rand so that they could somehow rescue the company. But government made it clear that they had no money. So it has since transpired that the issue really of perhaps the termination of employers' services is quite key. But government is still insisting that as far as they are concerned, they are still seized with this issue. So we expect that the cabinet will be updated around these issues, and we expect it may not necessarily perhaps be this cabinet meeting, but we expect that at some point they will have to come out with finality on the issue because it can't drag on for long, Palisa.
Just in conclusion, Mzwai, we're sitting at 158 confirmed cases of corona here in the country, 54 deaths. And looking at the rate at which the numbers are going up, what is likely to happen at the end of the month? Are we likely to see an extension to the lockdown?
Well, the reality of the situation is that the cases are continuing to increase. But the other reality is that the economic impact is becoming very, very, very dire. So what I expect will happen is that, so even if a decision is taken perhaps to ease the measures, I don't expect the government or the president to lift it completely. There will probably be a gradual phasing. Some of the key sectors perhaps may be allowed to operate with strict measures, whilst the large measures that are meant to ensure that everyone is safe will be in place. Well, when you look at what the authorities have been saying, really, I mean, they've been warning us to say these numbers could be low, perhaps compared to what is happening elsewhere, but it's basically the calm before the storm. So as you see them starting to increase, so we have not reached our peak yet. So they will have to take all of that into account. But at the same time, the issue of the economy and the economic impact is real. That is why this meeting today will be quite crucial to come up with measures to make sure that at least somehow people are safeguarded from the severe impact that this could have.
All right, Mzwai, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for that update. Our SABC News politics editor Mzwandile Mbeje joining us live from Johannesburg, talking to us about the cabinet meeting that will look into a number of things, most importantly post the COVID-19 pandemic moving forward.